Welcome all to Max's Mic. I'm Max, and I have the mic. In today's episode, I will be breaking down my picks for the Division One men's basketball tournament. I'm going to be going into create a bracket, and I will be creating a fresh bracket right now, breaking through my picks, trying to do this rather, not going to say quickly, but I'm going to move along. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the South. We're going to start with the South, the top left, and then we'll move to the top. We'll go top left, then bottom left to the West, then to the Midwest, then to the East, then we'll get into the Final Four, and so on. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with Auburn. Don't know exactly. Actually, we do know. They're playing Atlanta State. Going with Auburn. They are looking good and have looked great all season. Next, I'm going to go with Creighton. Just something about this Creighton team. I really like them. Really like the grit, the determination, and the fight of this squad. Moving on, I'm going to pick Michigan to win next. The shooting has been a little off over the last few games, but I think that this team is going to get right and get going, especially now that they've got the spark of the Big Ten championship. Then I'm going with Yale to play. A little spoiler again. You got to have your spoilers mixed in there, and I'm not exactly confident in this Texas A&M team to be able to pull it out. Yale played spoiler last year. I think they do it again. Next, we've got Ole Miss versus UNC. Give me UNC. Not exactly confident with this Ole Miss squad, and UNC playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. Now we've got Iowa State and Lipscomb, and I am going to go with Iowa State here, although I believe I've heard rumors that their top shooter could be out for this game. Still going to stick with Iowa State. Great squad. Now we've got Marquette and New Mexico. And while I do want to go with Marquette, got a feeling that this could be another one of those little off. It's not really an upset, not really a shocker, as it's only the 7 versus the 10 seed in that regards. But I do think that New Mexico is going to find a way to pull out the win. Next, we've got Michigan State and Bryant. I'm going to be going with Michigan State. Now, as we continue to move forward, we'll start with the bottom and move back up. Michigan State and New Mexico. I'm going to pick Michigan State. They've looked really solid. UNC, Iowa State. I'm going to go with UNC. I really think that this team is playing with a chip on their shoulder and really has something to prove, as a lot of people were quite upset that they even made it and one of the last 4 teams in. So really think, and they're also just a really good team. They're just a solid squad. So sticking with UNC. Now we've got Michigan, Yale, and I think that Michigan manages to find a way. Vlad Golden and Danny Wolf. The fact that you could have 2 7-footers on the floor at the same time, and the fact that they can play off ball on each other, they can also shoot threes. I mean, again, if this Michigan team can get hot shooting and can make their shots, which they did very well at the start of the season, they are a team to be feared. Finally, Auburn, Creighton. I'm going to be sticking with Auburn. And then Auburn, Michigan, going to be going with Auburn again. I really like this Auburn team, and I'm going to go with Auburn all the way to the Final Four. Now, before we get to that, UNC, Michigan State, I'm going to go with UNC. You know, it's March Madness. You never know what's going to happen. However, I do think UNC's run will fall at the hands of Auburn. But you never know what's going to happen with March Madness, and so that's why I've got UNC knocking out Michigan State. Now we're going to move down. We've got the West. We've got Florida versus Norfolk State. I'm going to be going with Florida. Again, another team that's been really hot. UConn and Oklahoma. I'm going to pick with UConn because they've looked shaky and they haven't looked like the same UConn squad that's played the last 2 seasons and won the last 2 seasons. And while I don't think that they're going to win, I think that Dan Hurley knows how to coach a team in these high pressure and intense situations. When the game's on the line, Hurley's on his prime, and I think that he's going to do a great job at finding a way to lead the squad, lead his team to another chip. Next, moving on, Memphis and Colorado State. And while Memphis has knocked off some big winners, I think that this is another time where we see a little spoiler take place, and I'm going to go with Colorado State. Really like Colorado State. They've always played hard in the Division I men's tournament, so I'm going to be sticking with Colorado State. Then we got Maryland and Grand Canyon. I'm going to be going with Maryland. This Maryland team is filthy. Michigan barely beat them, and that was a tight game, I think. And in that game, Maryland also didn't shoot all too well. They shot quite well, but not as well as I think they can. So I'm going to pick Maryland, and I got an idea that Maryland could be going on a run, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Missouri and Drake. I'm going to go with Drake. I am not too confident with this Missouri squad, and Drake they've got what it takes. They really have a solid roster, and they've got a bit of depth, not crazy depth, but they've got a bit of depth, but they've also done a good job racking up some wins and taking down some teams. They defeated Vandy 81-70, and they've found ways to record some wins quite strong and convincingly this season. I like Drake as another team that could go on a magical run and be spoiler. Texas Tech, UNC, W, and I'm going to be going with Texas Tech. I don't think I have. Do I have any 14 seeds winning? I don't think I'm going to have a 14 seed winning this year. And we're going to get into why in a little bit. But I got Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas. I'm going to go with Kansas. I really think that this Kansas team is decent. I think they're really solid. I think that Hunter Dickinson's really going to step up and is really going to want to make sure that his former team in Michigan doesn't do better than him. I really think that, like, you got a guy, Hunter Dickinson, who was on Michigan, who left. Granted, yeah, they were falling and they were fleeting as a program, but all of a sudden he's gone, and now this program has skyrocketed towards the top of the ranks, or skyrocketing towards the top. They're not quite up there, but they're moving up there quite swiftly. Then we got St. John's in Omaha. I'm going to be going with St. John's. They're just a gritty, hard-nosed fighting team. Now we've got Florida and UConn, and while I do want to go UConn, and I really think that Dan Hurley can get his team in shape, this UConn team has also looked quite shaky, so I think that this is where they fall, and this is where we see Florida and just their ability to score and put up points prevail. Maryland and Colorado State, give me Maryland. This Maryland team is tight. Drake, Texas Tech, you never know what's going to happen in March. Give me Drake. And again, going off of that, you never know what's going to happen in March. Kansas and St. John's, I'm going to go with Kansas. I do think that St. John's is quite gritty, and they've got a great coaching staff that can get them ready, but I'm going to stick with St. John's. Now we've got Florida and Maryland, and a lot of people, this is where they're going with Florida, but again, you never know what's going to happen in March, and this Maryland team, I really think that they are a legit squad. I got Maryland. Drake, Kansas, I'm going with Kansas. Maryland, Kansas, I'm going with Maryland. Now we're going to move over to the Midwest. Houston, SIUE, give me Houston. Gonzaga, Georgia, I think Gonzaga's playing quite well. McNeese and Clemson, I think McNeese has got something going inside their locker room, and I think they've got the hype. I'm going to go with McNeese. Purdue and High Point, I'm going to go with Purdue. I think that they also have a little some sort of, not really a chip on their shoulder, but a little something in the back, something that's going to really be a helpful driving force, and that something is the fact that they lost last year. Next, we got Illinois playing either Texas or Xavier, and that's going down. That game's going down tonight. And I'm going to go with either Texas or Xavier to beat Illinois. I really don't think this Illinois team is as good as either of those squads. I also think that it will be Texas pulling off the win, and should it be Texas, I'd be more confident in this pick than it would be Xavier. But either way, I still would pick either of those teams to beat Illinois. Not just because they're an 11 seed, but I also do think that either of those teams can beat Illinois. So that's why I'm going with it. Then we got Kentucky and Troy, and I just saw a post from ESPN. 2022, Kentucky lost as the 2 seed to St. Peter's, the 15. And then they showed in 2024, Kentucky losing to, what was it? It was like Oakland, right? Something like that. And being the 3 seed losing to the 14 seed. So could we see another upset here with Troy? I don't think so. I think Kentucky this season figures out a way to go on quite a run. UCLA, Utah State. I think Utah State pulls up the upset. I'm going to go with Utah State. And then Tennessee and Wofford. I'm going with Tennessee. Now, bottom up, I'm just going to go with Tennessee over Utah State and Kentucky over either Texas or Xavier. Again, I think that this Kentucky team is starting to figure things out. McNeese or Purdue? I'm going to go with Purdue. Again, I really feel like there's something going there with this Purdue squad. Gonzaga and Houston. I think that it's going to be Houston that pulls off this win. This Houston squad is really tight. Houston, Purdue. I think that Purdue keeps on rolling. I really do. I'm going to go with Purdue again. I think that they put on another beautiful run. Actually, excuse me. Nah, I'm going to stick with my gut. No, my gut says Houston. I'm still stuck. I'm still caught up. Here's my thoughts. This Houston team is really tough. This Houston team is really Emmanuel Sharp with his 12.6 points per game and his 3.1 rebounds. Really just a solid player. LJ Cryer, 15 points per game, another great guy. But I'm also looking at Purdue. Trey Kaufman-Renn, 20 points per game. Braden Smith, 16 points per game. This Purdue squad, they've also got something going where they've lost their last 4 games. And they haven't been on quite a solid run as of late. And I think that all of a sudden you get a win over High Point, you get a win over McNeese. Maybe you've got something rolling. But then again, I think that those are easier wins compared to Houston. And I don't think that those wins really prepare them. I think that they come out strong, but Houston just prevails. So you know what? I'm flipping my pick. I'm going with Houston. Now we've got Kentucky and Tennessee. This is where I think that Kentucky's run comes to an end. I'm going with Tennessee. I know this is kind of crazy. We've got the 1 and the 2, but I really think that those 2 teams are the 2 teams that are going to come out on top. Tennessee is a squad, on the other hand, that, although losing to Florida, had been on kind of a run that included beating Florida, beating Bama, and beating Auburn. So I really think that this Tennessee team is battle ready to fight. And I think that because of that, they're going to beat Houston and they're going to move on. So far, we've got 3 teams. We've got Auburn and Maryland. And we've got Tennessee. And now it's time to figure out who I think Tennessee's going to face. First, I got Duke winning. Don't really know who they're going to play. We'll find out in a little bit who they're going to play. But I still think that it's going to be Duke to win. Then I've got Mississippi State, Baylor. Give me Baylor. Oregon, Liberty. This is where I think a 12 seed puts on a little bit of a show. I really like this Liberty squad, and I don't really see all that much hype coming out of Oregon. I really think that Liberty has what it takes to win. Arizona, Akron. I'm going to go with Arizona. BYU, VCU. What do you know about BYU, VCU? This matchup is going to be thrilling, is going to be exciting. But when it comes down to it, I think at the end of the day, BYU with their bench depth and also the fact that they have played, just looking at their last couple of matches, they play Houston, Iowa State twice, Arizona, Kansas, Arizona, Baylor, Houston. Have been the last, was this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Those last 8 matchups, I think they're battle tested, battle ready for March. Wisconsin, Montana. Wisconsin, another team that put up a great fight against Michigan in that Big Ten tournament championship game. And I think that they win this game. And I think that what we're going to see is that if Wisconsin can get their shooting going, especially in this game, get the win, but more importantly, get their shooting going, as they shot terribly against Michigan. Michigan and Wisconsin shot horribly against each other. So I think if both teams can get their shooting going, both teams can go on a run. St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. And I think that this is when we see Vanderbilt play a little bit of spoiler. I think that Vanderbilt is a team that can easily play spoiler. Again, Vanderbilt found a way. They beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky. They beat A&M. Granted, they've also lost to all those teams as well. I think that Vandy could be a squad that just goes on a crazy run. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt. Alabama versus Robert Morris. Give me Alabama. And then we've seen what happens. This Alabama team is really high scoring and really high powered. However, when the defense isn't there and the other team is hot, it's a little sketchy running for Alabama. And I really do think that this Vandy team, you never know what's going to happen in March. And while I do think that, and a lot of people are going to pick Alabama to win this and Alabama to go on a run, let's have some fun. Why not? I'm going to go with Vandy. And you know what? Let's have some more fun. I'm going to go with BYU. I think that both teams can figure it out. I think that Wisconsin's shooting doesn't figure itself out. I think BYU uses their bench depth, and I think BYU then beats Vanderbilt. Yeah, BYU in Sweet 16. What do you know about it? Then we've got Duke Baylor. Then we got Arizona Liberty. I'm gonna go with Arizona. I don't think that Liberty has what it takes to take down Arizona. Duke Baylor, going with Duke. And now here's another great matchup: Duke versus Arizona. And I don't know if Cooper Flagg is fully healthy. They say he is. I want to think he is, but I really don't know if Cooper Flagg is fully healthy. If Cooper Flagg ends up being fully healthy, I think Duke goes on and wins the whole thing. But because of the fact that I'm not confident that Cooper Flagg is fully healthy, I think that this is, as we move a little later into the tournament, could be where we start to see this Duke team kind of show a little weakness. But let's not forget Con Knipple exists. Let's not forget Tyrese Proctor exists. Let's not forget the depth, the squad, the ability. This is Duke Blue Devil basketball, and this is the return of the Duke dominance. Give me Duke over Arizona, Duke over BYU, Duke over Tennessee. Send them all the way to the end. And finally, we've made it to the Final Four. Duke over Tennessee. The one beats the two. 1v4, Auburn and Maryland, and you never know what's going to happen. Give me Maryland, Duke Maryland in the championship, and let's have some fun. I'm going with Duke. Give me the Blue Devils to win it all. This Duke squad can and I believe will win. This Duke squad is built. That's it. That's all you got to say about them. They're built. They're built to win. They're built to thrive. And if Cooper Flagg is healthy and at the top of his game, they're built to thrive. I've said thrive twice. Fly, survive, then they thrive. That's what I meant to say. They win. So real quick, just the Final Four, if it wasn't all that clear. We got Auburn and Maryland. We got Duke and Tennessee. Give me Maryland. Give me Duke. And in the finals, give me Duke to win it all. Those are my picks, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, like and leave a comment down below letting me know what you liked, or if you didn't like it, let me know what you would like to see different. What would you like me to do different? And I can make those changes in the future. And that way I'm being able to make more content that you enjoy. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to make content for you guys to enjoy. And if you'd like to see more content, subscribe, as we've got a lot more coming out. Baseball season's coming underway. You can head over to Max's Mic on Instagram, where some more content will be coming out very soon as the baseball season gets going. I did a lot of pick'ems for the NFL season, going to be trying to at least get the Sunday night baseball games and more pick'ems, more short form videos, and more content coming out there. More content coming out here either later this week or next week. I think it'll be later this week. Mock Draft 3.0 will be releasing my Mock Draft 3.0. And then Sunday, going to be breaking down in more depth the NFL offseason, free agency, the trades, and everything that's gone down. So that'll be Sunday morning, 8 a.m., VIC Radio on my show with Parker Hollandoner called Between the 20s. So if you want to see more content like that beyond the video that I just posted yesterday, go check that out. But until then, I hope you have enjoyed. Have a great day. Take care, and goodbye.